Welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And for those of you who watch the video, you'll notice that this face does not have a smile on it as it usually does because I feel terrible. I feel terrible today. So, I'm trying not to skip my podcast because I've gotten into the habit of skipping the podcast when I don't feel good. And I don't like doing that because I need it for my mental state of mind just as much as I don't know, as I need, doctors for my physical well-being. So I just want to keep doing it on a daily basis. So if I can walk to the computer, then I need to do the podcast. I know I'm really tough on myself. Anyway, I wanted to talk about persistence, which is probably a good topic for today. So I heard, let's see, last night I was listening to the Calm app, and the meditation that I listened to was about, it said about how small droplets of water persistently dropping on a piece of stone or rock will drill a hole in it. And I remember going to Luray Caverns and seeing that. Like, you see a lot of that happening inside these caverns. And I thought, I think I'm going to talk about that because it's also come into kind of the forefront of my mind as far as vestibular therapy and how I've been contemplating, like, am I going to keep doing it? Am I going to take a break? Am I getting the value out of it that I thought I was going to get? Am I getting, if it's different, what value am I getting out of it? So I've been thinking about all of that, and I've been talking to my doctors, talked to my psychiatrist, I talked to the vestibular therapist, I talked to my vestibular therapy group and vestibular support group, I should say. And my conclusion that I've come to is that I'm going to keep going, at least for now. Like, today's decision is I'm going to keep going, and I can change my mind at any time. But I was thinking about, how I'm always relating everything in my sobriety program to my stroke recovery. Well, I was thinking about one thing that stands out a lot to me is how my financial state changed over time as I practiced the program. And it is part of the promises that I saw on the wall when I would go to meetings. And those promises on the wall seemed so far-fetched in the beginning. And I'll go through them just to remind us of what they are. But I remember looking at some of these, and at that time when I first entered into sobriety, like, I was just thinking about not drinking. Like, all the promises on the wall, like, whatever, I mean, that was too much for me to think about. I really was focused on not picking up a drink. That was all I thought that I came into the program for, was to be able to get through the day without drinking. I didn't even think beyond living my life without drinking or being able to manage my relationships without drinking. Like, I wasn't thinking that far in advance. I was just thinking, like, can I get from work to my house without stopping at 7-Eleven and getting those tiny little boxes of wine and shoving them under my car and drinking on the way home? Like that's what I was mostly focused on. But what like everybody kept saying is keep coming back. Um, it's like they kept reminding me of what I have to do right now, which is um, at any given point of my sobriety, it was either pick up a pen today and start writing out your step 4, or call your sponsor today, or pray today. It was just about what I need to do today. And yet there were these promises that were still on the wall. And I'm thinking, one of them says, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. I'm like, there is no way I'm not going to regret the past. No way. That can't happen. But it has happened for sure. There are a few things that I still regret, but it's because looking at, I'm still processing them as what I learned, as lessons. And sometimes it's hard to shift from something I regret to it being a lesson. And but it's been happening for me. And it's really because I've been persistent about wanting to be sober, about wanting to get from point A to point B without picking up a drink. So my goal has never changed. My goal has always been centered on right now. I don't want to drink today. I don't want to drink right now. And by persistently not wanting to drink right now, I've lived 8 years of not wanting to drink right now. It's quite amazing. And that is persistence. And that water droplet persistently hitting that rock. We talked about drop the rock yesterday. I was thinking about that rock still, and how the program is like that water droplet, and it's just drilling a hole in that rock. And so how does this have to do with my vestibular therapy? Because I've been told time and time again about how these small little activities that I'm doing in vestibular therapy are making changes to my my state of well-being, my physical state of well-being, like my ability to do things that I couldn't do before. So if I think back to what I was doing last year, so we've been doing this for a year. Thank you for those of you who have been listening for a year. I should send you a present, a handmade present or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if maybe we kick this up a notch over the next year. I have some ideas. You guys know that I'm always thinking of new ideas, and I already have one. So stand by for that. Anywho, I stray. And I've totally lost my train of thought. I hate when I do that. I'm like a shiny coin kind of gal. So, and if you're listening, you have a better chance of knowing what the hell I was just talking about than me. I'm told in vestibular therapy, I'm just going to pick up wherever I feel like it. I'm told in vestibular therapy that what I'm doing this year that I wasn't doing last year. So I went to the pool. That's something that I couldn't do last year. And so I talked to my vestibular therapist about this today. And she said, so that's awesome. Like, think about that. Think about what you are able to do right now that you couldn't do last year. And I'm just going to be honest, I would not say that that's all because of vestibular therapy. That is really because I'm not working anymore, because I'm able to rest my head. Like, the reason why I feel terrible right now is my own fault, because I did things that I'm not supposed to do, that I know I can't do, but I did them anyway. Because I'm bullheaded, and when I want to do something, I just do it, and I think about the consequences later, or I don't think about the consequences. Um, and I'm learning, I'm not going to beat myself up, but I just did some stuff online that I shouldn't do. I can't help it. I can't help it. Anyway, so the reason why I'm able to go to the pool now and I wasn't before is because I'm slowly learning my limitations and how to do things in a way that don't hurt my head. So I also have these glasses, which I'm telling you have changed everything. I can actually feel when I take the glasses off the difference immediately in my head, when I have them on and when I take them off. So it's not as good as closing my eyes, which I'm doing right now, but it's like halfway. It's like halfway closing my eyes. That's what it's like to have my glasses on. So my therapist was talking about that, like, recognize what am I doing now that I wasn't doing 3 months ago when I started therapy? And that is looking up at the selection of coffee pods that's on the wall when I reach for a coffee pod. Like, I was just closing my eyes and reaching up for it. And um walking my dogs around the block. I didn't even feel comfortable doing that. I still don't feel great when I do it, but I'm not as scared of my symptoms. Like, I know when I start feeling bad that it's not going to kill me. Like, I'm not going to fall over because I've done it enough times that I know what the worst I'm going to feel like is. And I know when to, when is like, Rachel, you got to stop or things are going to get really bad really fast. So I know those limitations now, and that is from therapy. That is from being educated about a little bit more about what's wrong with me. It's about working through exercises with her and knowing what feels really bad and what, hey, I can do that, but I just can only do it for a short period of time, kind of thing. Because I was getting to the point where I was like, well, I can't walk at all outside. Like, that said, I can't walk my dog anymore. And that's not true. I can walk my dog, but there are some basic like guidelines I need to follow for myself in order to get all the way around the block without feeling totally nauseous. So, these are small improvements, just like sobriety. If I keep coming back to vestibular therapy and I keep practicing these small little things, I can slowly start doing more activities. So today she like congratulated me on walking to the pool. And she said, well, what is your next goal that you would like to do? And I said that I want to put my kayak in the water this summer. And she was like, okay. I said at first, I would like to ride my bike, but I think that's a little much. She said, yeah, I think that might be a little much. But the kayak we can probably do. Like, I'm just going in some really slow water that's like right near my house. So even if I can only just like go out to the middle of the water and then come back and put the kayak back on the car and be done with it, then that's fine with me. I just want to be able to say that I did it. So today in therapy, she she set up a situation that was as close as she could, given the very short notice, to be like I'm kayaking. So she got those, those like rubber, they're like rubber seats that you sit on, like you'll put on your office chair or something, and it helps you to like keep your balance, and it's supposed to be good for your core. My mom has one when she sews, or she used to have one. I don't know if she still uses it. Well, I sat on that and then I put one under each foot. So everything was kind of a little unstable. And then she gave me a broomstick. And then she had on either end of the broomstick, she had these like those strength bands that stretch. She had them tied on either end of the broomstick, and then she sat in front of me and pulled on the on the bands, and then I rode, and it was, I mean, it was great. Yes, I felt terribly nauseous afterwards, so that's part of the reason why I felt bad today. um and so that was good. Like, I have an exercise ball also, and she was like, and I said maybe I can just sit on that and kind of like feel what it feels like to move around. And she said, yeah, it's important to do something like that and just kind of move from side to side and know that like you are the one that is making yourself feel that way. That sounds really weird if you don't have vestibular issues, but to feel like you're in control of your body's movement. If you're going from side to side, that you're making yourself go from side to side and it's not out of your control. And that's not really what I felt like when I was sitting on the ball, sitting on the rubber mat thing. It feels almost like I'm not in control, like I'm on a boat. I told her I feel like I went out on the Chesapeake and went fishing for 10 hours. That's what I feel like, just from the like minute of doing that. We did it several times for a minute. And then I think the worst I felt was I had to close my eyes and do it. And then I was like done. I was totally done after that. So anyway, my point is that I have proof that over the past 8 years of how small acts persistently can make gigantic changes, gigantic impacts in our life. And I know I've done some episodes on the promises of AA, but I just thought I'd read them again, just to remind us what they are and what the thing, those of you who are in sobriety, what are the things that, think about this while I'm reading them. What are the things that you're doing in your life that are working towards these big promises? Because they're big deals. And, I've been working at this for 8 years, and I've had a lot of this come true, a lot of it. I don't know if it's all of it. We'll see, because I'm going to read through them again. So The first one is we will know a new freedom and a new happiness. And for me, that is that freedom from the obsession of alcohol. And without that obsession, I'm able to enjoy things better because I'm fully present. I'm not thinking about where I'm going to get my next drink. And that only happened by slowly doing things for the first time without a drink. I call them my firsts. And I heard somebody else the other day who listens to the podcast say the same thing. Like, I'm slowly starting to do my firsts. And that made me smile. The next one is we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. I already mentioned that. That really has been slowly converting my regrets over to lessons. And that is how I I don't want to forget it. I don't want to forget that these things happened because I may forget the lesson, and for me that is to not wish to shut the door on it. Next is we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. And I I've told you guys about that one numerous times. I remember when I finally comprehended the word serenity and I knew what peace felt like. Like I knew what peace of mind felt like. The opposite of insane. Number 4 is no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. And I mean, that's the podcast. That's what I'm doing. Like, I see how the toughest times in my life are the things that I can leverage to help other people, including stroke recovery and this vestibular stuff. Number 5 is the feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. And even post-stroke, I did start feeling again a feeling of uselessness and self-pity. So that is an exercise that I had to apply the principles of the program. Remember, the principles are the opposite of my character defects. Apply the principles of the program in order to work my way out of that uselessness and self-pity again. So just when we feel like we've achieved one of these promises, it doesn't mean that we don't have to still work for them. I can still go back to feeling self-pity, and I can start worrying about something that I have no control over, and serenity slips away a little bit until I work the program again and call my sponsor and do all of these things so that I can get that serenity back. Once I finally comprehended what serenity really was and knew peace, like I'm constantly wanting to keep it, in my life. Number 6 is we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. I definitely seen my psychiatrist actually thinks that I think too much about other people. She didn't say it like that, but she's constantly telling me to, okay, but let's think about what's best for you right now. Like I'm constantly like, and this person said this, and I really think that I could probably help her. And she's like, okay, well, what can you do for yourself? So Um, still in that number 6, fear of people and economic insecurity. Oh, actually, that's a different one. Right. Yeah, sorry. So self-respect. These might have not even been in the right order or whatever, but anyway, we're gonna keep going. Number 7, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. That's really because of all the other stuff. I don't have all of this stuff blocking me. Those rocks, they're not weighing me down anymore. And it's like, I'm able to think more reasonably. I don't feel crazy anymore. And the program, the big book always talks about that sanity. I didn't think I was insane before, but as I sit and in my mind these days, when I'm going to sleep and I just turn on calm and I do a meditation, like if I compare the things that I do now and the things that I'm thinking of now, I just feel like I'm so much more reasonable than I used to be. I was kind of out there, always thinking about things to worry about and stuff I couldn't control. And I practiced letting those go and just buckling in for the ride a lot of times. Number 8, fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. I was in a situation before I got sober where I really was financially, there was no promise for me. I never thought I would be able to get out of that. Never. Because all I was worried about was getting my next drink, paying for my next drink. And I was paying for it in change eventually towards the end. And by that's the one that amazes me the most is that it took persistence of me not wanting to drink today. That's what helped me in the long run, um, not having economic insecurity. It's fascinating that it all tied together to one core goal, and that was not to pick up a drink today. Um, and as I got stronger with meeting that goal of not picking up a drink today, I could start addressing some of those other issues. Um, and that was with the steps. Number 9, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. A lot of that for me is my God box and letting go. A lot of it for me is being able to decipher what I can change and what I can't change. It's the serenity prayer. That's how I intuitively know how to handle things now, is because I repeated that serenity prayer over and over and over again all these years, and I still do. And finally, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And yeah, that's a whole nother episode. Just that one, because I never even wanted to say the word God because I was embarrassed. So I've come a long way, right? Um, so there's so much more to it. There's so much more persistence, that things that start coming out that we do, um, like practicing gratitude every single day, that kind of thing. Man, that was definitely a drop of water that was drilling a hole in a rock. And it took me 3 years, I think, before I consistently started to send my gratefuls every day, every evening, but that wore down a lot of what was going on negatively inside my head before bed. It really helped me to lay my head on my pillow with none of the junk. And then when I finally heard somebody say, put all that stuff, like your rock, like I said last night, put all of that on your nightstand. It'll be there when you wake up in the morning. Like there's no use in taking that to bed with you. And that really did a lot for me with the prayers before bed, putting all of my stuff on my nightstand. It'll be there in the morning. Like, yeah, I would be falling asleep and trying to tell myself like, okay, don't forget you have to do this tomorrow. Don't forget that, you know? And I finally got to the point where I was thinking while I was falling asleep, if I felt I was trying to remind myself to do something tomorrow, I would literally think to myself, put it on your nightstand. If you don't remember to do it tomorrow, it's not that important anyway. And it was so much easier to fall asleep. It is so much easier for me to fall asleep now. So, I think that if you are in sobriety, if you are in stroke recovery, if you're a vestibular patient, whatever it is that if you're not in any sort of recovery, but you're just trying to live, trying to find a way to live in a more comfortable mindset, remember that what you're doing today might not feel like it's a big deal, but every tiny thing that you do is making a gigantic change in your trajectory. So even listening to this podcast, the fact that you clicked play made a gigantic change in your trajectory in your life. You know, you don't see it now, but there's something that I said that will change the way you do something in the future. I'm sure of it. I'm sure because I'm so wise. I'm kidding. But everything that we do is today is making such a shift in our path, and we don't see that. And that's why it's so important to try to make sure that the little things that we do every day are pushing us in the direction that we want to go, because it's pushing us in a direction. So we have to be cognizant of which direction that is. Yeah, and I know it's hard. It's not easy, believe me. Believe me. But that's why we're here, so we can do it together. So thank you so much for listening. And I hope all of this resonated with you and inspires you. And I will, oh, don't forget to share this with somebody. And I will talk to you tomorrow.